right, and welcome to the TSG Multimedia video podcast for May 1st, 2012. This is John sitting with
Dan.
As usual, I'm the sidekick, as I recall from one of our recent podcasts.
And you've been dubbed with the title.
Yeah, well, you're the master and I'm the sidekick, I guess, when it
Okay.
comes to this model stuff. Anyway, now I know one of these things is a locomotive.
Right.
I recognize that.
Uh-huh.
And that looks like a piece of sandpaper. Sandpapers and locomotives, well, maybe I guess you'll just have to talk about whatever you're doing here.
Okay, well, what I wanted to do is just do a little quick demonstration of a sort of a little hint and tip kind of a thing that I do with sandpaper. And basically, for working on models, a big sheet of sandpaper like this is a little bit cumbersome.
Right.
So what I like to do is to cut it down into little strips that are maybe, I don't know, half an inch or so wide. And now this happens to be 320 grit, but you can use it with any grit. And what I do is I cut them in smaller pieces, about like that. And then before I forget what it is, because once you cut it into little pieces, usually whatever grit it is not printed in enough places to show up on all these little pieces. So I just take a pen and I label it 320, and I realize this is upside down for the camera, so I'll turn it around. But that way I know what they are.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because it's only printed every few inches on the
yeah, right. Yeah. So you can do this with any grade. You know, I use 320 is about as coarse as I go, unless I have something that is really, really needs a rough sanding. But there's 400 grit and 600 grit, and you can go even if you get the automotive paper, you can even go down to like 2,000 grit. Although I don't usually go that far for models.
I just noticed something about the sandpaper. Check this out, everybody. This is sandpaper for cool people. Check out the cool guy.
I think that's saying to wear safety glasses.
Oh, I thought it was for a cool guy.
No.
Okay.
I like your explanation better, though.
Yeah.
So anyway, then I just take, I'll just store those pieces in a box. Usually just use one at a time, so it, until it's not fresh anymore. But what I like to do is I'll fold it in half. And then I take a little piece of stiff plastic, this is 040 styrene, just a little scrap, and stick it in the middle, and it makes a little kind of a makeshift sanding block, which is really nice when you're sanding a flat surface, because it helps you to keep from sanding a depression into what you're working on.
That makes sense. It's the same way that we used to use sanding blocks when I was a house painter to keep things flat. And I noticed that you could use this edge over here if you wanted to get into some fine little area. Is that typically what you would do as well? Or?
Yeah, you can do that. And if you have a round thing, you could take a file handle and wrap it around there and sand something around with it. So, there's all kinds of ways you can use this stuff, but it's just nice and convenient to have these little small pieces of paper like this. And then, for example, with this engine, the reason this is here is I've filled some holes in the back on the pilot.
Oh, it's that green putty stuff.
Yeah, good old Squadron green putty.
I've seen that before.
Yeah.
I can see how that keeps things flat.
Yeah, it works pretty well. Because believe it or not, I actually have sanded into a model where it creates an uneven surface, and it's not really what you want if you're not trying to do that on purpose. If you here, I don't want it to be uneven, I want it to be flat.
Right.
So using the block really helps with that.
Yeah, and it looks nice too. Probably feels nice and smooth too, so.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty good. So.
Okay, so we're looking at a UP engine now on the layout here. I always like this when we can see videos on the train layout. What are you going to show with this?
This is an engine that I think was actually on volume 1 of our DCC install videos for HO scale.
Oh, I think I remember that.
Yeah.
123, yeah.
But since that time, I've put a different decoder in it. I put a Loc Sound Select in it, And I really like the Loc Sound Selects because of the way they operate and the lighting effects, and they have good sound and just a really good overall decoder. One thing I didn't like was that you're sort of stuck with directional headlights on them, and that means that when the engine's going forward, the front headlight is on, and when the engine's going backwards, the rear headlight is on, and there really isn't any way to that I could see at first. There wasn't any way that I could see to overcome that, which was kind of, it didn't used to bother me, but as I've been observing real trains more and more, I've seen a lot of times, like especially if there's a rear end helper or a rear end DPU, sometimes the light that's actually facing opposite the way the train's going is on, and it's sort of like a tail light, as the train's going away from you.
I can recall seeing that on some of our videos as well.
Yeah, so if you have strictly directional headlight, that won't work. So, because like if I want to make the engine move away from me right now, see the headlight goes off.
Oh, right. So the rear headlight then would be on right now, right?
Right, the rear headlight is on and the front headlight is off. And then when if I reverse direction, then the front headlight comes back on again.
Right.
And there isn't any way that I could see by programming CVs to change that until I discovered a little trick.
Okay.
And that's what I wanted to talk about.
So you found a way to make the train run in the opposite direction of which side the headlight's on?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And what I discovered is that the directionality seems to be tied to the F0 key. The 0 key on your keypad on your DCC controller.
Okay. Will this work on all DCC controllers, or is it?
It should.
Okay.
It should. I have Digitrax, but it should work on anything. But basically, that's the standard key that is traditionally used to turn on the headlights.
Oh,
Okay?
I see.
So if you use that 0 key, then it's going to be directional. However, I'm going to turn that off. Turn off 0. And what I did was I assigned the headlight and the reverse light to different functions. So this right now, just for the sake of experiment, I have the 5 key activating the headlight. And now it's no longer directional.
So it's going to run backwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there it goes. That does add a little sense of realism to it that we didn't have before. That's pretty cool.
And you can even dim it, just like the real ones, which I really like the dimming function on the Loc Sound Select, because that's how they usually would run it, would be with the headlight on but dim.
Right. I remember seeing that many times on our videos.
Yeah. So the only disadvantage to this is that you have to pay a little more attention to your controller to find out which way the engine's going to move when you start cranking the throttle, because you no longer have that indication that the headlight would normally give you if it's directional.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So it's almost like changing gears. It tells you what direction it's going to go just by which side the light's on.
But the good thing about this, and you can see that I'm doing this right now, is if you want to, you can have the best of both worlds, because if I use the 0 key, then it goes back to being directional. But if I use the other key, whatever other key I've assigned to it, then it's not directional. So you can do them both and have it run either way, just depending on what you need at that moment.
So are you saying that you can also turn both lights on at the same time?
Yeah. In fact, they're both on right now.
It's too bad we can't see the other side. We should have put a mirror back there or something.
Yeah, but you can have the lights on both ends, which is something I've seen when they're switching cars and things like that. I've seen them do that.
I think I've seen that too.
So I just thought that was really neat, and it kind of eliminated any lingering doubts I had about the decoder, in terms of anything to object to that would bug me.
Right.
So.
Well, that's pretty neat. Well, there you go, another tip. So
yeah,
I guess we'll wrap it up for this month's video podcast. So just mention to catch our audio podcast on the 15th this month, and make sure you tune into our next video podcast on the 1st of June. Boy, it's going to be halfway through the year, Dan.
I know, it goes by fast.
It really does. I guess we'll see you then. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks.